Hi, Jamie. I just wanted to respond to your video discussion with a video reply. Um, I think you're starting off your discussion saying that you would reflect on your own beliefs and assumptions, I think is critical. And I think that's very important when dealing with sensitive topics like race and gender topics and just anything that has anything to do with inclusion of different groups, different demographics. And I think that it's very important that you stated that because a lot of times, if we don't reflect on what we believe, we'll find ourselves responding out of our beliefs, responding out of our own assumptions, assuming that this way is the right way when it may not work for everyone. Because, as you stated, everyone doesn't believe the same. And so I think that's very critical when you said that you would reflect on what you believe. And it kind of goes to some of our readings this week. And Denston and Grace stated that um, where reflection is absent, there is the constant risk of making poor decisions and bad judgments. And I think reflecting on how we believe, because how we believe is so much of who we are, and so we don't even really think about what we believe. We just act out. Um, and I think it was important too because in that same reading, they quoted Mesereau, and he states that we're trapped in our own meanings, meaning schemes, and perspectives. So you can see how it would be easy to respond to situations like that just based off of who we are and our beliefs. So I think that was critical and spot on to say that you would definitely look at your own beliefs. And the next thing that I thought was important about what you were saying is that you would reach out to different departments. You would reach out to those who play a very significant role in campus life and campus culture. I also thought the same when I was doing my initial post that I would reach out to the director of the Multicultural Center at the institution that I work at. And we have a multicultural center. And that person is tasked with, along with other things and along with other people, making sure that our campus is a safe haven, so to speak, that everyone feels included and that no one feels excluded. So when you talk about reaching out to different colleagues, different departments, and even to the student. And it was something here that I wanted to point out too that kind of goes along with what you were saying, talking about the student lens. And it says the second is the student's eyes can be equated in the leadership context to followers' perspectives. And I think it says understanding followers' viewpoints. And so being a president, you're the academic leader, you are the chief academic leader of that institution. So understanding your followers' viewpoints. And I think that's important that you talked about that you would reach out to your students. They are the student body. They are the ones that, if anything, should arise in that manner, racial tension, um, religious freedoms. If it's going to arise, it's probably more than likely going to come from the student body. So, as a leader, it's important to understand your followers' viewpoints. And when you stated that that's who you would go to, I think that's another critical point. And I think that's also important that you would do that. I think your topic, and what's funny, you were talking about how you don't see yourself as a leader. I don't either. But your responses, in my opinion, go along with how a leader would respond. A leader would let me check my beliefs at the door. Number two, let me collaborate with those who are going to have a voice in this conversation, those who have seats at the table, upper administration, deans, associate deans, directors of different departments on campus, um, and then the students, reaching out, collaborating with them. What are their viewpoints? What are their perspectives? How do they see the campus being proactive in these types of situations, or if they have to be reactive? What is an appropriate reaction to something happening like that on campus? And lastly, as a response to your discussion, you talked about how you would question your or evaluate your beliefs and your assumptions, how you would collaborate, and then you said your challenge would be to look at yourself. And going back to our reading, a lot of times I think too we have to look at motive too. Um, in situations like that, I don't think that it's a time for a president to make a name for him or herself. I think it's time for that president to be open minded. I think it's time for that president to be responsible. And I think it's time for that president to be wholehearted. And I think it's important too, because you said the challenge would be to look at yourself. And so going back to our readings this week, it says leaders, and I'm paraphrasing here, oftentimes avoid reflecting on a course of action because such reflection might challenge their favorable perceptions of themselves. Because a lot of times, we don't want to think about our flaws. We don't want to think about that, hey, my belief system, I may think it's inferior to your belief system. And if it's inferior to your belief system, then, we're just going to do things the way I want to do it. Or, I'm seeking a name for myself. And I think in situations like that, it's not time to seek a name for yourself. It's time to, hey, let's do what's best for our campus. Let's do what's best for our students. How do we make them feel safe? How do we hedge off these types of fiery circumstances that are happening on other campuses? How do we manage that? And those 3 points that I got from your discussion, I think, are keynote. And I think they should be standard, in my opinion, but I do know that people are different and react to situations differently and have a different thought process. But what you're stating is exactly how I felt. I feel like, who should I collaborate with? Who should I reach out to? How do we hedge this off? How do the students feel about that? And I just thinking too, having an open forum with your students as a president. Okay, I'm hearing about all these things that are happening on these other campuses. Let's have a conversation hour. Let's have an open forum. Let's invite the students to a place on campus during a certain time of the week, a certain time of the day, and let's discuss these topics in a very respectful, non-hostile way. What can we do to make each and every student and faculty member, faculty, students, everybody who's a member of the campus feel like they are included? And so I really can't stress enough that the points that you made are valuable, and they are really valid. I need to look at my beliefs, make sure that I'm not responding out of my beliefs without evaluating and making sure everyone is heard, making sure that I'm not putting my beliefs and my assumptions above everybody else's, and collaborating. As they say, two heads are better than one. When we come together, we can look at things from all sorts of perspectives, because and I think that's important. That's why we need to bring people in, because you may not think the way I think. I may not think the way you think. But when we come together, we can think about some very pertinent ideas and solutions that could hedge off these types of situations, or be a beneficial a solution to things that may be kind of burning, that kind of want to come up. And lastly, we have to take a look at ourselves. One of my favorite songs is Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. If we're going to make a change, it has to start with us. And I really appreciated your discussion. And just as you were brave, that sparked bravery in me. And here I am with this video. Have a good week, Jamie.